Welcome to CBS Easy.
Hey everyone, welcome! Today we're going to jump right into a really cool workbook unit all about Mijbil the Otter. This isn't just about reading a story though. It's really a journey into that special and sometimes pretty complicated connection we have with animals. It really makes you think about what it means to be a true companion. So right from the get-go, the workbook hits us with this big central question. What does it actually take to understand a friend, especially one that doesn't speak your language? This idea is going to be our guide as we dive into things like empathy, responsibility, and trying to understand that silent language of behavior.
All right, part one throws us right into the deep end. An otter's world. We get to meet the star of our show, Mijbil, and you find out really quick that taking care of him is way more than just fun and games.
And look at this, it shows such a fascinating contrast. On one side, you've got this pure, wild joy. That's Mijbil just loving life in the water, totally in his element. But then on the other side, you see the struggle, right? Trying to make a wild animal fit into our human world. These two pictures together just perfectly capture that push and pull of their relationship. Wild freedom versus, well, the rules of living with people. And the workbook doesn't just focus on the cute stuff, it gets right into the practical side of things. It makes us think about the real, honest-to-goodness commitment involved here. It's not just about cuddles, it's about providing the right food, making sure there's enough space, and all the daily care that a unique pet like an otter actually needs to thrive. Okay, so the next section builds on this by teaching us a super important skill, reading between the lines. This part of the unit is all about boosting our reading comprehension, learning how to look at what an animal does to figure out what it feels. It's about seeing the story behind all the action. And this is so clever. Look at how they do it. This simple pable asks us to connect what Mijbil does on one side with how Mijbil feels on the other. So, for example, when he plunges and rolls around in the water, what's the feeling? He goes wild with joy. It's such a great little exercise for building empathy and sharpening those reading skills by actually looking for the evidence in the text. Now, right when you think you've got a handle on Mijbil, the workbook pulls a fast one and introduces a totally different story. It challenges us to take all these skills we just learned and apply them to a brand new character. And here he is. Meet Bakat, a baby civet cat. So what's the big difference here? Well, this time we hear directly from him. This one quote, "I secretly think she loves me the most," just immediately pulls you in. It gives us this really personal, intimate look into his little world and what he's feeling. This side-by-side comparison is where you really see how smart the workbook's design is. You've got Mijbil, whose story is told by his owner, and then you have Bakat, who tells his own story. And that's the key takeaway, right? How the perspective, who is telling the story, totally changes how we connect with a character and how we understand what they're going through. So, after we've dug into the stories, the workbook shifts gears. Now we're going to focus on the tools we actually use to tell them. This section is all about building with language, getting a good handle on the vocabulary and grammar that we need to communicate clearly and, make our descriptions come alive. To really get Bakat's story, for instance, we need the right words. He tells us he's nocturnal, which means he's up and about at night. And this just shows you, building a specific vocabulary is so important if you want to accurately describe the world, especially the really unique things about animals. Then we get into a little bit of grammar, specifically something called noun modifiers. Basically, these are just adjectives, describing words, that add more detail and really bring our sentences to life. Instead of just a hut, you get a little thatched hut, or mud-splattered walls. It's all about learning how to use language to paint a much clearer picture for your reader. And I love this. The workbook keeps things fun and engaging with little tidbits like this one. The idiom, "cat got your tongue." It's a playful way to explore how language works. And it's a good reminder that learning can actually be pretty enjoyable. All right, all of this, the stories, the vocabulary, the grammar, it all leads up to this final section, which might just be the most important one. After all that learning and analyzing, the workbook asks us to step up and express our own ideas on some pretty tricky subjects. This is where things get real. This is where we develop our speaking and writing skills. The workbook pushes us to debate some tough ethical questions. Should people keep big wild animals like bears at home? Is it okay to keep unusual pets just for our own pleasure? What about using animals like tigers and lions in circuses? See? We've moved way beyond just reading a story, and now we're in this active, thoughtful discussion about our real-world responsibilities. And so we're going to end with the same challenge the workbook leaves us with. A question for you. After thinking about all the joy and all the responsibility and the tough questions, if you could have any unique animal companion, what would it be? And maybe more importantly, why? It's a thought that just perfectly wraps up this whole journey, taking us from just observing something to really reflecting on it ourselves.
Thank you for watching with us. See you next time.